Mary had a little man.
Fourth, we believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
The U.S. economy added 175,000 jobs in April. That's actually less than expected, words we haven't been uttering lately. The unemployment rate came in at 3.9%.
Here to help us understand what these numbers mean for you and your wallet and the economy, NBC senior business correspondent Christine Romans, who is excited about this one. Good morning.
Well, less is more here. This is really important. We're seeing some of the froth come out of the American labor market. The job market was so strong for so long. We were worried that was going to keep the inflation story front and center, but you've got 175,000 net new jobs added. That's less than the 240,000 anybody expected. Last month, March, was revised up to 313,000. So it's a slowdown from a very strong pace earlier this year. This year, you can tell I'm very excited.
You are.
And I just like the look of this trend. The cooling off here is what's really important. Not too hot. Not too cold. This is not recessionary. That is a strong job market, but it's not so strong that it's a problem for the Fed and interest rates.
A little Goldilocks there.
Yeah.
A little Goldilocks there. It's just right, everybody, just right. There's so much good news, and you would never know it if you turned on the TV. So for the young people, TV is what the old people used to watch before streaming. And so I still call it that because, it's the 60s. What can I tell you? It's the 60s again. I mean, the news is really good. There's so much, interesting, good news happening. And yet, if you turned on, the cables, all you would know is Hope Hicks is testifying, that Trump communicated about the payment to Stormy Daniels. I mean, honestly, they're working off a Google Doc. I mean, you're talking about global news networks that are all sharing a Google Doc and actually covering this thing wall to wall. Honestly, this is the least important case with regard to Donald Trump's criming, but it could be the one that brings him down. I'll give you that. Could be the one that actually puts him in a jail cell. Could be the one. But do we really need to, relive 2016, 2015? Do we really need to go like that? I don't know. I think everybody understands. I think we all heard the tapes. I think everybody knows what exactly happened there. I think everybody understands Michael Cohen went to jail because there was crime there, right? And that Donald Trump was directing the whole thing. So I'm just going to celebrate some of the other stuff. I think the protests are mostly over. Yay. I think the information that I've been alleging, that I've been looking to, that I've been, relying on, my gut feeling about, that there were infiltrators. When we saw the New York press conference the other day, remember there was a woman who's in charge of the city's intelligence bureau, and she was insisting that the tactics had elevated to a point where they sort of looked very similar to a lot of other tactics that we've seen deployed by other let's say bad actors in this here country, like Umbrella Man with his little hammer breaking the AutoZone window, and the January 6th insurrectionists breaking the window with their little hammer. And now you see this at the Hamilton Hall, and they're breaking the window with their little hammer. If I had a hammer, see, the 60s. Peter, Paul, and Mary, everybody, Peter, Paul, and Mary. But honest to God, the reason why this isn't resonating the way that the 60s did and the protests are kind of over now, two reasons. One, back then you had Otis Redding, you had Marvin Gaye, you had Aretha Franklin, you had Buffalo Springfield, you had, Hendrix and Janis Joplin and, really unbelievable Rolling Stone, Beatles, for God's sake. You had an amazing top 40. And now, 2 albums, both by Taylor Swift. Okay. You know what I mean? How do you protest to Taylor Swift? Really, how do you do that? What are the meaningful lyrics that propel you to, no, there's nothing. And that's why it's Gaza Schmaza. Really. I tell you, they did a focus group, and this is also part of the good news. Only 2% of the young people in this country actually give a damn about what's going on over there. Only 2%. I got so much stuff to show you. I got an amazing thing. But it turns out that when they went into Hamilton Hall, when they went to CUNY, City University in New York, Yes, I know that place. I know it real well. It was a law school that probably I could have gotten into. Just saying, it's one of those. But anyway, they found that only 25% of the protesters arrested Tuesday at Columbia were students at Columbia. 60% of those arrested at City College of New York had no connections to City College of New York. Oh my God. Outside agitators, everybody. Always the case. Umbrella Man was a white supremacist in Wisconsin. He was a white supremacist motorcycle dude dressed up as an ultra black bloc anarchist from the left wing. I'm telling you, people are waiting for AI. They are AI, okay? They are artificially intelligent, and they actually, interlope. They actually join these protests and create all this violence. So, yes, the students were misled. The students were told a whole bunch of crap. And I saw a bunch of Twitter feeds from people who have a stake in this. I brought this one for you to see. This is by a guy named Ahmed Fawd Al-Khattab. I don't know. Anyway, he went to UCLA, and he went there to check out the protests, and he is, a Palestinian. And he said, I went to the UCLA campus last night. I spent a few hours there before the police dispersed the encampment because I wanted to see the pro-Palestinian students protest for myself and get a sense of the atmosphere, the energy, the students, as well as the focus of the movement and what was their end game, what was their desired end game. He said, I wore a T-shirt with a chant that I hope to use as an engagement opportunity with some students to see their views on various issues and how they perceive peace as an opportunity for the Palestinian people and cause. So the T-shirt that he was wearing, the From the River to the Sea chant, Palestine will be free from the river to the sea, which implies that you must get rid of, the state of Israel. You have to, just wipe it off the map. So he wore a moderation on that lyric, if you will. His T-shirt said, from the river to the sea, only peace will set us free, which was interesting. It was a whole different take on what his end game was. Anyway, he said when he went to the encampment, the first thing he was greeted by was a truck that was parked with a speaker that was broadcasting Richard Medhurst. Now, Richard Medhurst, you could look him up. I don't even want to characterize him one way or another. You look him up, and you see who he advocates for. You see, on he's a YouTuber. You just see on his YouTube channel, like, who does he give time to? Well, I'll just tell you, it's like Iranians, Russians, just saying. Anyway, he said, I was disappointed and disturbed to see a rotating, sit on this and rotate, everybody, a rotating anti-Semitic symbol on top of the truck that combined a swastika and a Star of David. Hey, what could go wrong with that? He said, I wished that the protest organizers had removed that particular symbol, which was entirely hateful and vile. Many statements, words, and messages were plastered all over the truck, which had a Palestinian flag. And then he talks about how he went into the campus and 70% of the protesters were masked. Either they were wearing, surgical masks, or they were wearing balaclavas, or they were wearing kipayas, and they were all covering their faces. And he said, because of that, you felt intimidated to begin with. And you also felt like the environment was not conducive to dialogue, talking, discussions, debates, or anything of that sort. He said the message was clear. Everyone who attended needed to be on board with the dictated message and the slogans, or get out. And he said you could feel the tension. People were looking around. They were suspicious and mistrustful of other mass protesters, so they didn't know. And they were all fearing infiltrators, undercover cops, pro-Israel students. Well, it turned out that the infiltrators, okay, so you might remember that one of the infiltrators was characterized as being the wife of a known terrorist. Yeah, so now I have a name, and we know who it was. And there were many, many infiltrators.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
So There are a number of different individuals who we know from over the years associated with protests, not just in our city, but in other cities as well, who are linked to and who we see doing training around the change in tactics that we described yesterday and that we all witnessed. The black bloc attire, the breaking windows, breaking doors, the vandalism, property destruction, the barricading, makeshift weapons that we recovered in the encampment. And so that change in tactics combined with the presence of known individuals on campus in the lead up to what happened in Hamilton Hall is why we had a real elevated concern around public safety.
Yes, and it's the exact same tactics that you saw in the AutoZone video. It's the exact same tactics that you saw in the many hours of January 6th video. I mean, it's just endlessly repetitive, the same damn crap over and over and over. And everybody's looking, for, like, oh, it's going to come from the left. Oh, it's going to come from pro this or pro that. No, it comes from agitators. It comes from people that want to see us turn one against the other. It comes from people who want to pose as one thing while actually being another. And they just, can't keep themselves peaceful. They just can't, assign themselves the, hey, I'm mad, I want to protest, but I'm going to be a peaceful protester so that, the protest can actually have a shot. No, they want to come in, they want to disagree with the protesters, they want to actually, I don't even think they have a point of view on any of this, to tell you the truth, except to say that the right wing, the ultra uber right wing tends to be the most, active in the pro-Israel camp. There's just no doubt about it. I did hear one of my colleagues say that the reason why Joe Biden doesn't say anything about these protests, which he did yesterday, but prior to yesterday, they said that the reason why Joe Biden doesn't say anything about these protests is because he's afraid to lose the Jewish vote. I was just going to let it lie because you know me, that's what I do. Let it lie. That's my philosophy. Just let it lie. The Jewish vote, for the most part, is on the right wing. It's the AIPAC crowd, okay? The Jewish vote is a Republican vote, and that's why you see all this money coming from very, 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 well, he's dead now, Sheldon Adelson, remember him? Yeah, he's dead, but his wife still has his estate, and she gives. But honestly, I just, the Jewish vote is not really on the left. The Jewish vote is on the right. People who are Jewish, who really are, secular humanists, or people who are on the, who are born Jewish, whatever, but would like to see peace in the Middle East. We don't typically vote based on our religion. It's not a thing. It's just not front and center, okay? It's not anything that anybody does. However, I have to say that these black bloc protesters, their tactics are exactly the same from place to place. They will never change. So, when they started to talk about that, immediately I went to, the places where I was looking at the video from Hamilton Hall. I'm sure you all did too. And you thought, why does that feel so familiar? Why does that? Because it's January 6th is what it is on a college campus. That is what you saw. That's what it felt like. That's what it looked like. That's what it smelled like. That's what it sounded like. And that's what it was. So I don't know, what the, I guess the interest is making it look chaotic. Because the right wing believes in chaos, they can steal the election. In chaos, you can steal anything. In chaos, you can confuse people, bamboozle people. You can muddy up an issue. You can make people just say, "Oh, I just want it to stop." Because look, that's what happened in 1968. It is. It honestly is, and we paid for that for decades. Because people by 1968, as I've said a million times, were already against the Vietnam War. About almost half the country was like done with it, okay? The idea that we had a draft, that's what was motivating young people. And then once the draft was done and we didn't have a draft anymore, that was sort of the end of it. Except we had to deal with the blowback. Does anybody remember 1969? No? Charles Manson, anybody? So now we have Kristi Noem. She's the Charles Manson of puppies. I mean, the violence never ceases to amaze me. Like what's next for them? And I can't figure out, I didn't even touch the Nome story because really, what is she going to do for an encore? And then all of a sudden she like, oh, but I killed 2 horses too and a goat. Really? What's next? An assault weapon at the Kitty Fluffy's head? And I can't figure out if she put this story out because she doesn't want to be Trump's VP or because they're selling Cruelty yet again. I don't know. But I will tell you what the good news is coming out of that story. And the second I saw it, I knew who did it. The second I heard it, let's see if you can figure out who did it. So in the House of Representatives, as of today, there is now a dog lovers caucus. Anybody? The second I saw it, I went, that's Jared Moskowitz. Has to be the House member from Florida. It's Jared Moskowitz. And it's a bipartisan caucus. It's for real. And you have people like Nancy Mace, from the Republican side, and all of us on the Democrat, all belonging to the dog lovers caucus because of the outrageous posture of these people like, Kristi Noem and Joni Ernst. I mean, in order to make themselves either look cruel or tough, I can't decide which one it is, they put stories out about how they castrate pigs or how they blow away unruly puppies and say on top of it, I hated that dog. Is it permission to kill little things, little innocent beings? I don't know what it is. And I don't know, or was that meant to turn us all off so that Trump couldn't pick her as a vice president because she didn't want to be? I have no idea. But this is who they are. This is what they do. Marjorie Taylor Greene next week is going to take up all the oxygen in the room. Why? Because she is going to move to remove Mike Johnson again. She's going. Why? Because it causes a chaos. It causes an inability to govern. It causes an inability for anybody to go to work and solve any of the problems that people give a damn about ahead of an election. That's why. I mean, there aren't enough votes to remove Mike Johnson. Know why? Know why? Because the Democrats are going to say, we're going to vote to defeat the motion to vacate. They're not going to vote for Mike Johnson. They're just going to vote against Marjorie Taylor Greene's motion to vacate, and it will fail. So that's what, but it's going to be everywhere all the time. And then it'll be sharing the oxygen with the Trump trial, which is going to come to a screeching halt, I'm guessing, in half an hour, maybe 45 minutes, because it's Friday. It's 3:30 Eastern, right? They never work past 4:30. You know what I'm saying? And there's the economy is just in a Goldilocks perfect position. Things are good. The protests seem to be wrapping up. We actually were able to arrest the interlopers and come up with, percentages of students that were responsible for it and percentages of outsiders that were responsible for it. And now we understand what we're on the lookout for. I think that's pretty good. I really do. The girl that gunned down a puppy now has a dog lovers caucus that's opposed to her. I think that's good too. Farm animals. We're going to kill dogs and goats and horses. Farm animal. I'm the Manson of the farm. God.
Next, to speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
All righty, everybody. Happy Friday, you bastards. Happy Friday. If you can support the show, if you believe that the show needs support, please do visit us at randirhodes.com today. Thank you. Jahari in Michigan.
Hello. How are you?
Good, you?
I'm doing all right. It's like I think it and then you say it.
Oh, no.
Because from the... hey, that just means great minds think alike.
Yeah.
But I thought that Kristi Noem put that story out there to denies herself from becoming Trump's VP too, because it makes no sense. Why would you publicly discuss shooting a puppy in the face
and then double down on it and say, and then I also killed a goat and 2 horses? Do you know?
Yeah. It makes no sense. It makes you look like a psycho.
Like, what's next?
Because
a basket of kittens? I mean, really, what is left for her to kill? I don't even understand.
Yeah, I mean, and what another thought went through my head, as the story started percolating out and everything, and some Republicans were really, really quiet, and there were a lot, because it's a lot of Republicans aren't talking about this. I wonder how upset they were about Michael Vick and how vocal they were about Michael Vick and what he did to those dogs.
Oh, God, the fighting dogs. Yeah, right? Because, cowboys love puppies and cowboys love babies. And so the right wing had to be like livid over the fact that the prettiest girl that they had turns out to be, a killer of, puppies and goats. Honestly.
Right. Right. Now,
but I don't know. So, I said two things, though, that I was thinking. So you mentioned one that I said that you were thinking, which was she put it out there to take herself out of consideration to be the vice president. But what if it's the other thing that I thought, and that is that it's cruelty that they're selling, and this is a plus.
I don't know about that, because did you ever watch that Netflix docuseries about Don't F with Cats?
Yes.
Okay. That right there tells me that there are a lot of people that this was no benefit to anyone.
So
this story was no benefit.
So you're landing on she did this to take herself out because they will kill democracy, but not a puppy.
Exactly. Okay. They'll kill democracy, but they won't kill a puppy. Seriously.
Not going to shoot a puppy in a gravel ditch in the face. Okay.
Right. Like I said, it's insane. But I wanted to talk about the protests, too.
Okay.
I'm a firm believer. You've always said read newspapers, and I've always, spread that out as well.
Yeah.
And, told people don't believe anything on the internet, dump social media, and read newspapers. But so what I did was I started reading some of these university student newspapers, and they've actually been really, really good on the press on these protests. The Columbia University, I believe it's the Columbia Spectator or whatever, when these protests started, their editorial board really started calling out the university president. And then I started thinking about what happened with the presidents of Harvard, UPenn, and I forget what the other one was.
MIT.
Was it Princeton? Was it Princeton?
Was MIT?
Or was it MIT?
Yeah.
Okay. And how Elise Stefanik and Republicans just started weaponizing anti-Semitism
and
Ivy League schools.
All in service of not teaching history anymore, right? That's
right.
Yeah. They're very upset about diversity and inclusion. They're very upset about it, right?
And the outcome from that resulted in the resignations of I think 2 to 3 of those university presidents, because they weren't against anti-Semitism enough for them.
Right.
They weren't harsh enough against anti-Semitism in their eyes.
Right.
And then you see the exact reaction that Republicans wanted in the college protests this week.
Yeah, that's a really great point. That's connecting the dots in a beautiful way. It looks just like the school boards, doesn't it? It looks just like those psychos that went to school board meetings and created chaos there.
Yeah, and
except
I can't help but wonder.
This was much more violent, and they dressed identically to those wannabe impersonators of the left wing, right? They're really right-wing guys, though,
Yeah, and I can't help but wonder if there is some kind of coordination between Republicans in Congress and these groups that want to infiltrate and create chaos in these protests. Create chaos and violence in these protests to create that 1968 effect,
exactly.
or to further demonize progressives on the left side of the equation of the spectrum,
the elites,
to make us all less appealing to those moderate voters, like you were talking about earlier this week.
I'm so proud of you. I am so proud of you, Jahari, because that is exactly what my instinct, okay, this is not fact, but this is what my instinct is telling me. And it was guiding me down this road since day one, okay? Since I saw the video of the breaking of the glass at Hamilton Hall at Columbia, since I saw that video, I understood that these were violent interlopers. These were people that were interfering, okay? And that there was a good chunk of students that were down with this plot. There were a good chunk of students that thought that they were on our side, meaning the side of peace. But they're not. They're chaos agents, and they're violent doers. And they literally try to pass themselves off as part of a peace movement, and they're not. They're interference. They do it all the time. They did it in Black Lives Matter, right? They're doing it, right? They did it on January 6th, and they're doing it now.
Yeah. I mean, I think that we, on our side, when we protest, we have to find a way to, I don't know, somehow be able to differentiate ourselves from these chaos agents. I don't know how we do it.
Here's the thing, and here's why I harp on this little piece of it, okay? The radical left that I talk about all the time that has gone so far to the left that it's on the right now, they are aiding and abetting these chaos agents, okay? They want to believe so badly that these right-wing lunatic fringe are part of the radical left, and they're going down the rabbit hole with them. Do you know what I'm saying? They can't even orient themselves anymore. They're confused, and they think that maybe violence could work. It happened before with the Weathermen and Bernadine Doran and Black Panthers were not peaceful, although they weren't violent. That's a whole other story. But but the idea that it's being corrupted by the right wing, let nobody miss that point.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show.
It is.
To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Oh, yes, everybody. It is the first of the month. Actually, it's the third or the fourth of the month now. So, we need you to visit us at randirhodes.com. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, Julie in New York.
Hi there. Thank you very much. There's so much good about your program that every 60 seconds I have to change my thing. But I want to tell you that one of the greatest things that I've gotten from your show is when you do some of the historical, geographic things about Israel. Where's Gaza? Where's the West Bank? Where's Egypt? I can't tell you how much that is ignorance of people that I know.
Yeah, well, that was prevalent too inside these protests when people were, actually asked questions about, what is going on, what is the policy, and why are you protesting, what do you want, and what's the end game for you? No one knew. No one knew. So, it was based on, a whole bunch of social media accounts that were showing really ugly pictures because war is grotesque. It is. Yes. It is literally the worst thing on this planet that
thank you
right it is. There's no question about it. And the idea that people don't even bother to understand the crux of the biscuit, as we used to say, like the nub of the rub.
Right.
How in the world are you going to diplomatically solve your problem if you don't know what the problem actually is?
Thank you.
Right.
You're focused on, look, guys, you put a map up. And it showed, and people don't have a clue.
They don't. And if you would ask anybody, at these protests, so what's your end game look like? What should it look like? Right? You had one group of people that were saying, wipe Israel off the map, which is that's a genocide. Okay, so the people that are protesting genocide are advocating genocide as a solution to the genocide.
Oh my God! Thank you. Thank you.
How ridiculous!
You just put it so succinctly. It's so, I don't, how to get your message out is difficult. I do, I'm all the time free speech to you. I don't know where I could else get my news.
Yeah, well, people are getting it off of TikTok apparently, and this is what it looks like. So, thanks, Julie. Have a great weekend. Donna in Washington.
Hey, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, you bastard. Hey.
Yes, indeed. And shalom and slava Ukraine.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, Randy, I grew up in South Dakota, so I understand the mindset. Cruelty was a way of life. I mean, that I survived. I got out. I joined the Air Force.
Really?
I'm the one that got the Ram sign, baby.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was going to ask you if your last name began with a P, because if it did, then you were in my squadron. I don't know. I just, for a minute, just flashed on this girl I knew who was from there.
Yeah. I separated out of McGuire. I don't know where you were at, but
I was at McGuire.
Yeah, I got out in '91 and went back as a civilian and went, oh, yeah, well.
Oh, so you're like a GS what?
Oh, I was, I don't know. I worked I went from the F-16s to little Piper Cubs and Cessnas.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it was fun. And it's like, oh, I think overstayed my welcome. I got to go back.
So you think that Kristi Noem is just advancing a way of life that's familiar to her, which includes shooting dogs in the face?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right then.
Yes. Yeah. I grew up with it. Yes. I understand the mindset, and cruelty is the point. I mean, it's generational, for one, and excusing it. What it really
well,
gets
maybe
me
now
is
I understand why there's such a
teeny
tiny population in the Dakotas. I guess it's either because nobody wants to live there because it looks like the moon, or because it's a place where you'll get shot and killed, before you even begin.
Well, if you're white, yeah, you might be good.
You might be good. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, look, Governor Noem is banned from 15% of the state because she alluded to the American Indian Nation folks, tribal leaders with cartels.
Yeah.
I mean, no, the cruelty, I mean, they have no value on life.
Right. That's so sick and sad.
Unless you're white, Anglo, straight, Protestant.
Okay, well then, like I said, this explains the teeny tiny population, the amount of people that want to live there. It just explains a whole lot of stuff that I've wrestled with since the Air Force, because I met people from there. Some of them were American Indians. Some of them were indigenous people. I had this one girl. I still look for her. Her name was Lois Yellowhorse, and I've never been able to find her. And then the other one is a girl named Diana, and her last name begins with a P. But I can't find them. I would love to find them, and see what happens. Yeah.
I was with my bunkmate. We flew in late to South Dakota. I missed the pick him up, put him down stuff in basic training. But Lillian Whitebowl was a bunkmate, and I got to tell you, in the basic training is the first time I knew black people got darker.
Black people.
Celestine Mills took off her watch bench. She said, "I got to stay out of the sun." I was like, "What? You get darker?" That's the ignorance.
You mean in the sun?
Yeah.
Oh.
I did not know that.
Really, you did
got
not know?
Darker.
You did not know
that? I had no clue.
It's a melanin thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Apparently in all shades.
Yeah. All right then.
I'm lavender, so
You're lavender. All right then. Well, thank you, Donna. Good luck to you. Stay out of North Dakota. Chipping, Kansas.
Hello, Randy. Years and years of listening. First time calling.
Oh my
Love
God.
you.
And what made you dial?
My finger. No. My finger. No, but I have to disagree with you on something.
All right.
You're saying that maybe Kristi Noem wrote that in the book to get out of contention?
Yeah.
It takes a long time from when somebody writes a book to when it's ready to be published.
Yeah.
So I don't think in that window, was long. She did that.
Then Donna's theory is more accurate, and hers is that cruelty is the point, which is sadder.
Yeah.
That's the saddest of all explanations.
Yeah. So let's all go adopt a new puppy. I'm contemplating it, and name them Cricket.
Oh, yeah. I wonder how many crickets there will be now. That are adopted out of the pound. I'm tempted.
I'm tempted.
Go ahead, do it.
I have to see if my other dogs I have will deal with it, but she's a spoiled little guy.
At one point, I had 5. Okay, at one point, I had 5 damn dogs because the Greyhound Pets of America, you know, down here we used to have dog tracks, and it was such
yes, I remember.
Disgusting. We don't have them anymore. Thank God.
I used to live in Florida, so
right, and so you know that those Greyhounds, they would retire them early. They'd be maybe 3 years old, and if they weren't fast, they would put them in a crate. They would get this thing called crate butt. Truly,
and they're crazy, mad, lovey-dovey little guys.
Oh, they're little couch potatoes.
They are.
They're sweet, sweet, sweet. They don't even bark. They're like the most amazing pets, right? They're fabulous. I had some that, you know, just spontaneously bled. I don't know why, but whatever. So I had 2 of those, right? And then I had a pound dog. And then I had Sophie, which she was a weird mix. She was a Rhodesian Ridgeback and a Labrador, we think. I found her under a car in Miami. And I remember I took her to the vet and I said, you know, I just found this dog, you know, clean her up, give her shots, you know, check her health and let me know, you know, if I could keep her. And so when they brought her out, she had like this mohawk down her back. And I said, oh, you couldn't clean her. You couldn't get the, and they go, no, that's her breed. I go, what is her breed? She's a Rhodesian Ridgeback. Oh, I never heard of it. Okay. She was the most fabulous dog I ever had. And then go ahead. And then I had a little Jack Russell for Jessica that used to chase the bufo toads and died eating a bufo toad. Yeah, and so. But yeah, I think everybody ought to go adopt a dog this weekend and name it Cricket.
Yes, the guy I have now, his name is Larry because I got him from the shelter in Lawrence, Kansas.
Larry.
And he's half Basenji, half terrier.
Oh God.
And Basenjis don't bark; they yodel. So most of the time it's a yodel. Once in a while I'll get a bark, but so the best little guy in the world. Well, hey, you have yourself a great weekend.
Well, thank
Keep
you.
up the good work.
I appreciate you very much. So, okay, we have solved the mystery of what was the motivation for Kristi Noem putting out the story herself that she shot Cricket in the face in a gravel pit because she hated that dog. This is her story. And then when she was asked about it, she said, oh, and I also killed a goat and 2 horses because, you know, that's what farm life is. So we figured out that the timing of it means she could not have been using that as a way out of being picked as vice president. This is what our caller just pointed out. The timing doesn't work. The timeline won't play. Therefore, cruelty is the point. Yay.
Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
I've heard from doctors who were unsure if they would wind up in a jail cell for simply doing their job. Women who told me they didn't know if it was safe to start a family here in Arizona. These excruciating conversations are exactly why I have made one thing clear, very clear. This ban needs to be repealed. I said it in 2022 when Roe was overturned, and I've said it again and again as governor. But as they have for 160 years, extreme politicians came up with every excuse imaginable to maintain this draconian ban. A ban that was passed by 27 men before Arizona was even a state. A time when America was at war over the right to own slaves. A time before women could even vote. Today, we are doing what 23 governors and 55 legislatures refused to do, and I'm so proud to be the ones that got this job done. And while I'm proud to sign this bill and provide a moment of relief for Arizonans, we still have work to do. Arizona women are still governed by a ban that leaves no exceptions for rape or incest, nor does it account for complications during pregnancy. We do not have guarantees that the basic right to contraception or access to IVF are protected, even as threats mount. Today, We should not rest, but we should recommit to protecting women's bodily autonomy, their ability to make their own healthcare decisions, and the ability to control their lives.
Katie Hobbs, everybody. Katie Hobbs. Doing what needs to be done. So there's a lot of good news today, and part of it is that believe it or not, Republicans in the Arizona State House and Senate, two Republicans joined the Democrats to repeal the 1864 abortion ban. 1864, a ban that was passed before Arizona was even a state. Obviously, women couldn't vote then, and neither could anybody except for a landowning. No, actually, nobody in Arizona. What am I talking about? You weren't a state. You weren't a state yet. And we found out that the guy who authored that was a pedophile. He was a pedophile. He had a wife who was like 12 years old and divorced her and had like two 10-year-old. It's so sick, so sad. So the good news is that Katie Hobbs was able to sign the repeal of the ban. The bad news is, despite that repeal, a near total, you should know this, Arizona, especially your younger girls there, younger boys there. If you have children or grandchildren, or you are still an estrogen-bearing being that can still reproduce, the near total abortion ban in Arizona will actually go into effect on June 27th. It will. This is information I'm getting from the Attorney General of the state, Chris Mays. The repeal, when it was signed by Katie Hobbs, doesn't go into effect until 90 days after the current legislative session ends. Now, there's no definite end date in the Arizona state legislature for adjournment, right? They don't have a specific date. So you can only look to like last year or the year before. Last year, the Arizona state legislature, this is my life, okay? Looking stuff like this crap up. Yeah, you want to be me so bad, don't you? Yeah, but last year, the Arizona state legislature adjourned in late June. But no, that was in 2022. In 2023, the session didn't end until August. See? So the near total abortion ban could be in effect through the summer and the fall. This is the point of talking about it, and possibly even through the general election in November. So please, I don't know, put a bag on it. What do you say? How do I say it? Wrap it? Pull out? What do I say? I mean, I'm just trying to be practical here with you, so that everybody will understand that even though you feel secure that the abortion ban has been repealed, and it has, it still goes into effect, and the ban doesn't take effect. Don't you love American law? It doesn't go into effect. The ban on the ban, the repeal of the ban doesn't go into effect until 90 days after they adjourn the legislature. So that it's good news, but it's mixed as of today. The other good news, and I don't know why we can't see this on the TV. You know, why am I listening to the former Trump aide Hope Hicks testified, past tense, in a hush money trial when it's done? It's a... Today, the President of the United States, Joe Biden, did some really extraordinary stuff, okay? And this week, some extraordinary stuff happened. So one of the good things that happened was Joe Biden was able to, through a rule, extend the Obamacare exchanges, the allowing people to buy health insurance on the Obama exchange, on the ACA exchanges, to the dreamers who came here as children, who had, through no fault of their own, landed on our soil. And because they have never, ever gotten in trouble with the law, they have never gotten a jaywalking ticket, they have done nothing but educate themselves, put themselves through school, and work very hard, they are now eligible to buy health insurance on the ACA exchanges. Now, that doesn't seem like a big deal until you realize that there's 500,000 dreamers. And if it wasn't for Donald Trump, who tried to repeal DACA, tried to take away their status, and the Supreme Court is still out on what should happen to them. So there's a stay on who can get dreamer status. But if we didn't have the Trump administration put a stay by going to the Supreme Court on who can be declared a DACA recipient, we would have over 1 million dreamers in this country. And being a Heart fan, a dreamer is everything to me. Just saying. And the other good news is, this is amazing. I found an old, but new to me, Heart album. People get very upset when I mix current events with my love for music. I don't know why. I think it's a good mix. There's this crazy therapist out in LA who's, she drags on me because I talk about serious things and then I downshift into music. I don't know. She has a problem with it. But anyway, there's this, it's old. It's an old album. I think it's from 2012, but I never heard it before. It's called Red Velvet Car. Go YouTube it. It's not on Amazon Music, which is probably why I never heard it. Nancy, Ann, put it on Amazon. Put it on Amazon. I'm having to listen to it on a YouTube video, which is awesome. It's a cartoon video. It's great, but I mean, come on. I need to go in the hot tub. I need to hear this on my freaking Amazon account. Anyway, it's great. It's great. There's at least 4 songs that I've heard already. I loved every one of them. Every one of them. Anyway, so that's good news. And the other good news, and this is why I don't understand why we can't see this on the TV. Joe Biden is giving out 19 Medal of Freedom awards today. And some of the recipients are like legends, like, obviously Nancy Pelosi is getting a Medal of Freedom award, but also Phil Donahue. Anybody a fan of Phil's? I am a huge fan of Phil and Marlo Thomas too. I mean, I have like 3 charities I give to, and one of them is St. Jude, right? So I'm a huge fan of that couple, both of them, and everything that they've done to improve the world, right? And so Phil Donahue, who, you may know from his show from, after 30 years on the air, he's getting a Medal of Freedom today. Medgar Evers is posthumously getting a Medal of Freedom today. Medgar Evers was shot in his driveway in 1963 at the old age of 37 years old. So he's getting, and one of my favorite people in the entire world, Al Gore, is getting a Medal of Freedom today. Al Gore is. John Kerry is, for his work not only in the Senate, but Secretary of State, but also as the climate czar for Joe Biden. Katie Ledecky, the swimmer who won 7 Olympic gold medals and 21 World Championship gold medals, she's getting one today. Posthumously, Frank Lautenberg from New Jersey, and Opal Lee, who worked tirelessly to make Juneteenth a federal holiday, right? I mean, why can't we see anything good on the TV?
Go for launch. Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Who in this group uses TikTok? By a show of fingers, who's heard the news that last week President Biden signed a bipartisan bill in Congress to force TikTok's Chinese owner, ByteDance, to sell TikTok to an American owner within 9 months or be banned in the U.S.? Who heard that news? Show of fingers. 7 of you heard that.
I'm in favor of it just because I'm a comp sci major and I dabble kind of in cybersecurity. It's a cybersecurity risk for personal information to be sold to an international company that is not in our region, even more so.
Got it. Okay. 4 of you oppose this. Why? Ethan, why do you oppose it?
I feel like TikTok has done a lot of good for smaller businesses and creators and provide a lot of opportunity and entertainment for people. And I don't think necessarily it's as much of a security risk as any other app or any sort of risk. I don't think it's like a major, this risk is way more than anything else.
6 of you don't support it. Angelina, why don't you support it?
Because I think there's bigger issues that we have to focus on, for one, and 2, it's not really affecting anybody. For me, that's where I get a lot of my news. That's where I get a lot of stuff that's informed. And while it might not be all accurate, it might be skewed to one side or not, I still get it's still brought to my attention through social media.
Emma, why do you oppose it?
I know the creator of, or the president or CEO of TikTok has pledged that app is a safe space for creativity, for smaller business. It's also, I just believe, TikTok, like Ethan said, isn't as big of a risk as any other social media out there.
Hold on a second. Allow me to play devil's advocate with you for a second. So the Chinese Communist Party has access to a huge amount of data for more than 100 million Americans through TikTok. That doesn't worry you as a security risk to the United States?
Not necessarily, because I don't know what the United States is doing with our own data as well. I just feel like I have no idea what goes on behind the scenes, so I can't say I'm 100% certain in anything that is concerning social media.
But hold on a second. If the U.S. government and the Chinese Communist Party both have access to the data, one's not riskier to you than the other?
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, you could argue that like the U.S. has more of an incentive to protect and serve me, but I think at the end of the day, they just feed it to advertisers, and they sell my data anyways. So,
for those of you who oppose the sale of TikTok, do you think that if former President Trump promised to protect TikTok from being taken away, would you consider voting for him if you weren't already planning to? Wow. So 3 of you would vote for Trump if Trump stood up and said, I'm going to protect TikTok. Angelina, you're going to vote for Trump if Trump says, I'm going to protect TikTok?
I'm still not going to vote, but I might encourage others to vote for him.
Holy crap. Does that scare you? That scares me. That really freaking scares me.
It scares me, and it also helps me to understand where his popularity might come from areas that I would not expect it to come from.
So the conversation started off with one kid who is majoring in cybersecurity and national security issues, right? Things like that. And he tried to explain very simply at the beginning that having your information in the hands of a unfriendly government that doesn't wish us well, so that, and he didn't expand, but he should have been allowed to, so that they can target information that could drive a wedge between American and American, so that we can be at each other's throats all the time. I mean, to the point where we're weakened, to the point where if we were attacked, we wouldn't know whose side to take. And you can see that with the girl, the eyeliner girl, the wing girl. She's actually saying, well, it doesn't matter to me because, maybe the U.S. has more incentive to protect me. But they're selling my data too. No, I have news for you, honey. The United States is not selling your data to anybody. Private companies are, and that's why you need rules of the road. That's why you need regulation. That's why you need privacy laws, which are being undone to the point where they're in your uterus now, babe. She's like, well, it doesn't matter to me because they're just going to say the United States doesn't sell any of your data, okay? If they did, we wouldn't have HIPAA laws. I mean, the U.S. actually works to protect your privacy, or it's supposed to. Trump won't. But they conflate all the, and they're so addicted to TikTok. It's just such a part of their life, and they are getting their news off TikTok. But this was what the poll that we went over the other day actually was telling us. And when you look at this, there's a focus group. There's 2 of them that you can see today. If you watch NBC, they actually aired 2 complete focus groups with young people. These kids happen to be in Wisconsin, and showed you that they are getting their news off TikTok, but that what they realize is it may not be reliable, and therefore I'm not going to vote. I'm not going to vote. That's what that girl right there just said. She said, I'm not going to vote anyway, but maybe I'll talk some people into voting for Donald Trump because I love TikTok so much. Now, what's really interesting is they knew everything about TikTok, everything. They knew nothing about the story that came this week from the Biden administration, and they care about this issue, okay? So one of the other good news stories was that, and I appreciate this just as I'm through germination, everybody. I started my grow. I told you I was going to grow Mac 1. I'm growing Mac 1. I'm through the germination process. We have a taproot. We had a little adorable taproot, and it got longer and longer. I was able to put it in some peat moss, and now it's planted. And I have the little cottle leaves. I mean, everything. It's going to plant. So anyway, the news this week from the Biden administration had to do with pot. It had to do with marijuana. It had to do with the Mary Jane. It had to do with the, And what the news was that marijuana has finally been taken off the books as a Schedule I drug alongside heroin. Crazy, right? It's been like that since 1938. Holy crap. It's still a controlled substance, but it's Schedule 3. And what does that mean? So that means that now dispensaries, places that actually do business, legally do business by selling medicinal marijuana or recreational, if it's allowed in your state, right? They can now deduct, they can now use legitimately our tax code to deduct the cost of doing business. Things like, their grow lights, or, the separation of, I'm just going to say CBD from THC, whatever it is that they do and that they spend money on doing in order to have a final product to sell you, could now be tax deductible. Yay! You know that these TikTok news getters, these little kids here that, I don't know why I call them, because they're teens. They're young teens or early 20s, whatever. It's another thing the therapist in LA is dragging on me for. Why is everybody a kid to me? Because if you're younger than me by, let's say, more than 2 generations, to me, you're a child. With a childlike mind, which is not necessarily a bad thing unless you go on a boat without listening to me. That would be bad. But anyway, they knew nothing about this. They were shocked when the focus group, administrator, I don't know what to call them, told them this news about the reclassification of marijuana. When did that happen? Today.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Who heard the news today that the Biden administration supports reclassifying marijuana from the strictest Schedule 1 classification to the less stringent Schedule 3? Who heard that news today? Anybody hear that?
That was today?
Today, announced this afternoon.
Wow.
Okay, based upon what I described, who supports this move? All 8 of you. Angelina, why do you support it?
Everything is a choice, and people know what they're getting into with the medications that they're on and the different drugs that are out there. And they're all adults normally, legally. So they can make informed decisions based on their knowledge.
Anybody have a different reason why you support it? Cooper.
I think having marijuana as a class 1 drug and looking at the other drugs within that class, like there's a wide disparity between like marijuana and heroin. So I think lowering that class and again, like giving the people the right to use that in a medical sense makes a lot of sense.
Ryan, why do you support it?
Similar to Cooper, I don't think that it's on the same level as heroin. Like, I think it's, if people want to use something like marijuana, which has a lot less effects than heroin to the human body, I think they should be allowed just to use it.
Yes, but that's not what the reclassification actually is about. It's not about you using it. Okay? It's about deducting costs for businesses that grow or businesses that separate flower from bud or businesses that have grow rooms or glow. It's a tax situation, okay? But they don't know anything about that, but they were all for it. They were all for, and they still don't know what they're for because they don't know what it means because they don't read. See, they don't read anything. But they in this focus group, and I don't think that young people are so different than middle-aged people who just also don't read newspapers. We know we have a country where only 11% of the population even reads a newspaper, okay? So how in the world do they orient themselves? But their big issues, according to this focus group, was TikTok, marijuana, and abortion. These were voting issues for these kids. TikTok, marijuana, and abortion, and they have no earthly idea the status of any of these things. It's crazy. They don't think there's anything that's implicated in our national security posture in the world by giving location data or any kind of data to, like algorithmic data, like personal interest data to a communist party that doesn't wish us well. They don't see why feeding them bad news about their own country or feeding them bad news about, protests, or showing them pictures of one war but not another is dangerous to the American experiment. They don't get it. They don't understand it. I'm sorry. I just wow. It's stunning to me when I listen to them, because they are getting their news off of social media, and the idea that it's leading them down this rabbit hole, where some of them said that they, if they had to vote, it's really sick. If they had to vote, they wouldn't mind voting for RFK Jr. That would, because he seems rational to them. Swear to God.
I want you to imagine the election is tomorrow, and it's these 5 people. So you got Biden, Trump, RFK Jr., Cornel West, and Jill Stein. Your 6 choices. You still don't want to. You're not going to vote. Who would take Kennedy? That's 4 of you. Josh, why is RFK Jr. attractive to you?
He just seems, out of the 3, to be more libertarian and a lot less controversial. I think he has a chance to be a lot less divisive and radical than the other 2, and
he's totally radical.
More competent, maybe.
Okay. Angelina, tell me why RFK Jr. is attractive to you.
I don't really know the other 2.
What?
Also, Joe Biden and Trump also both have chances already, and they're not doing so hot. So,
okay. And Hunter, what about you? What is attractive about RFK Jr.?
For me, it's because he seems more level-headed and middle of the road. Plus, he's the only candidate that I've actually seen discuss housing prices and like my generation's issue with that. And then he's the only one I've heard from numerous coworkers that tell me about policies that he would put in place and stuff like that.
He's getting his news off of TikTok and talking to his coworkers about Biden is so radical he can't vote for Biden is radical.
Yeah,
JFK or RFK Jr. is not radical, but Biden is radical.
As soon as I heard, RFK is less radical than Biden.
Radical.
Everything else out of his mouth was like the teachers in Peanut.
Now, I have to tell you, this idea that this generation is having, problems buying their first house, whereas other generations did not have problems buying their first house. Let me tell you something. The only generation that had a somewhat easier time buying their first house was World War II veterans coming back from World War II, because we had a GI Bill that actually helped GIs coming back from World War II buy houses. My generation, my God, buying a first house, interest rates in the 80s were 18%. Why do they think that? Because this is what they're being told by people that don't wish us well. They all feel so put upon. They all feel like so unserviced, unseen, unheard, unwanted, unloved, and they're all sitting in their bedrooms. Every last one of them is sitting in their bedrooms participating in a focus group where you used to have to go to the focus group and sit in an office. You'd get $5 or whatever. I remember this because they used to do focus groups about me. And one thing I can promise you, you never want to see a focus group about yourself. You never do. But I had a really sadistic general manager, Mean Bob Green, we used to call him, who made me watch the focus groups about me. And they would ask questions like, how many of you hate her? Hands go up. What do you hate about her? She sounds like a Maki fishwife on Prozac. I swear to God. But I just, we're in trouble. We're in so much trouble when the 3 issues that they're concerned with are abortion, marijuana, and TikTok ownership, and they have no idea that Joe Biden is trying to help them out by protecting their privacy on TikTok, their data on TikTok, is going to, if he gets a second term, make a federal law protecting their privacy in their own bodies, in their own decisions, and making marijuana legal nationwide. I mean, but RFK Jr. is less radical. What? The man wants to make polio great again. Holy crap.
Clear for fatality. This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Oh, yeah, 47 after on a Friday. This is the last segment to Hot Tub Beer, and hopefully, I can listen to Red Velvet Car by heart. I think it's like 2012. Now, it's not on Amazon, but it is on Spotify. It's on Spotify.
You know what else is on Spotify?
Yes, us.
The
We're
Randi
on.
Rhodes Show.
Yes, and here's the thing. So if you like the Randi Rhodes Show, but you just don't want to become a paid subscriber to the Randi Rhodes Show, go listen to the free version of the Randi Rhodes Show on Spotify because I make money off the ads there, right? So that's another way you can support the show without coming out of your pocket. Just listen on Spotify. See, is a good one.
The Randi Rhodes Show, just like spelled here. Enjoy.
Is it the?
Yes, ma'am.
You did the Randi Rhodes Show?
The Randi Rhodes Show.
I'm sorry, what was that?
The Randi Rhodes Show.
The Randi Rhodes Show.
On Spotify.
Thank you, Brett. Clay in Mississippi.
The Randi Rhodes Show.
Thank you.
Who is the voice that says that? Is that Brett?
Just now, that was Brett. Yeah. Oh no, Duffy. That's Duffy on the.
I'm coming for your job, Duffy. I'm coming for you, bub.
Yeah, it's Duffy. Duffy's the best. He's amazing. I mean, if you heard his voice, you've probably heard his voice on a million things. You just don't know it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's making the big bucks.
Yeah, he is.
So regarding the poor little dog and other animals, what I know about the people, I live in Mississippi, so there are a whole lot of hunters around here. And my take on it is that these people, they just do not value life. And if anything's inconvenient, they don't care. They'll just get rid of it. And I can give you.
She could get rid of it. All she had to do was call, the pound or something, or bring the dog in for adoption, or give it to a dog trainer or somebody.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful dog. It was I think a Springer Spaniel. Gorgeous, gorgeous dog.
My neighbor.
Yeah.
Few years ago, a couple of years ago, a dog got apparently just dropped off here. People dump animals as well, that they don't want, so they'll dump them off somewhere else.
Yeah.
And one got dropped off here near my house, and it was hanging around my house and the neighbor's house for a few days. And one day my neighbor just shot it in the head because he didn't want to deal with it.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so if it's an inconvenience, people just don't care. They don't value life. They don't care. They just want it out of their hair. And I think that's probably what the mentality is for that kind of thing.
Well, like I said, stay there. Don't run for office. Don't be, a public officer in charge of the well-being of others. If that's your attitude towards living things. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying anything
it's
more
all
complex than
that.
that. Yeah. No, seriously, if you can't value the life of a 14-month-old puppy, do me a favor, don't run for public office because you shouldn't be in charge of any living thing, let alone a child's education.
Jahari mentioned Mike Vick, and it's worth noting that no matter how despicable the details of Mike Vick case was, after he got out of jail, it didn't ruin his career. He played for the Eagles for a couple of years, and it's not going to ruin her career either because 2 parts cruelty, 1 part violence, that's the secret sauce.
Being a football player, Brett, is not the same as being governor of a state or vice president of the United States of America. I think the standard of character ought to be just slightly higher than Michael Vick.
I do agree with that, but people thought it was going to sink him. People thought they weren't going to see him again, and he had value to someone, just like Christie does, and his career continued.
So apparently the sin in football is if you kneel during the national anthem to pay your respects for young black men who are being brutalized by crazy cops like, Derek Chauvin et al., right? That will ruin your career. But dogfighting and going to jail for animal cruelty isn't a barrier to entry to the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay, got it. So then if that's the rule in football, please make a note of it. then let's make the rule in public service. You can't shoot a dog in the face. Could we just do that? Jimmy in Alabama.
Oh, hi. Wonderful subject today about the misinformation, disinformation that people are digesting.
Scary.
And I'm surrounded by a sea of red.
Where are you in Alabama?
Nothing.
Where do you live in Alabama? North, south, east, west? What?
Oh, it's east, almost in Georgia.
Okay.
Very rural. The only news program I hear people talk about is Newsmax, and I'm just terrified.
That's horrible. That is so scary to me. Because think about it this way,
I'm
Jimmy.
a blue speck in a sea of red.
Oh, my God. And think about it this way, okay? Like, who needs the most help? Like, investment in their community, infrastructure, high-speed internet, like, who would need it the most? It wouldn't be, New York City. It wouldn't be, California. It wouldn't be L.A. It wouldn't be Sacramento. It wouldn't be San Francisco. It would be
mine.
Yeah, it would be
my
your
neighbors.
Yes, it would be. And you have two parties, one that says you're on your own, right? Pull yourself up from your bootstraps, you're on your own. And another one that's saying, let's invest and let's bring chip factories, let's bring high-paying jobs, let's unionize. I mean, there's been a lot of union shops opening up in Alabama, and it's been good. It's been very, it's been very good. So, I mean, honestly, do you think it's all media? You think it's all propaganda?
I accused my son once of censoring himself, choosing not to be informed. No one's telling him
That
but
is
himself.
a good way to put it. That is a really smart thing to say to somebody. You're censoring yourself because that puts them in charge of their consumption of news. And it makes you're not preachy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's good.
But anyway, the reason I called was yesterday's show was just fantastic.
Really?
Talking about 1968 and the draft, and
yeah.
I ended up a guy got caught up in the lottery in 1971. My lottery number was 80, and they'd already taken number 72, so I left the draft office, went straight to the Air Force recruiter. Best thing that ever happened to me was getting into the Air Force.
Yeah, me too.
Didn't think so at the time.
I know, me too. I did it too. Yeah, listen, it was a good choice you made there. Really good.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the good things about it is it opened up the world. That is, there's more to life than rural Alabama. There are more places, there are more people, there are more ideas. And yes, I've been in contact with some of the people I grew up with who stayed, didn't go anywhere, always lived in the same town. I really feel sorry for them.
I've always said, if we had and this is too close to talking about the draft to even bring this up, but if we had, like a year of public service that was available to people, or mandatory even, just saying, and it doesn't have to be military service. It just could be, a Peace Corps. It could be, working at USAID or, but if every American had a passport, if every American had a year of service outside of their own town, city, state, I think we would get a much different result than we get now in our political, representation. I just think we would,
I agree.
Yeah, I think we would get better people. We would demand more of them. The barrier to entry would be character and integrity for starters. And then it would be knowledge of, the whole world. It would be knowledge of, my burb and yours. It would be knowledge of the North and the South, the East and the West, the rural and the urban. And that would be just priceless. It would be great.
Well, one more thing. I know you got to go. But I've listened to you for years.
Oh.
And anyway, talking about the contrast between the music of the period, late 60s and early 70s,
Yeah.
and Vietnam War and Nixon. I was inspired to dig out my old Doobie Brother albums. I even found some Neil Young, Journey Through the Past. So I got toked up and just rocked out after listening to it yesterday.
That's fantastic. That's wonderful. I'm going to do that tonight. I can't wait. I'm so excited for you. Thank you. Do it again. Like Steely Dan would say. Yeah, do it again. It's good for you. It's so good for your innards. Really. There's nothing like music to soothe the soul. There's nothing like music. Maybe love. Maybe love. But other than that, music's easier to come by. I have to say. Do it. Go for it. Enjoy it. Be there. Do it. I'm so excited to go home and listen to this Heart album, really. If you wonder what I'm listening to, I listen to it with me for the first time. It's called Red Velvet Car by Heart.